Hi everybody, here's another Canva video, and this one's going to focus on colors and how we might think about those, incorporating those into our projects. So one of the things that we need to do if we have a brand is we may want to decide some brand standards and pick some colors. And we may not have the background to pick a color palette, but fortunately there are a lot of tools that we can use to help us make that decision. Now, first of all, so in this soda one that I've been making, I've just got black on white, right? And then I have this red. But I may want to play with the backgrounds. If we look, we've got different elements, so we can add shapes, we can upload our own pictures, we can use text, and we can also add backgrounds. So we can add photo backgrounds. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a cough. We can use photo backgrounds, or we can use colors themselves. So we could play around and we can see, oh, that looks a little bit nicer. But instead of just randomly picking colors, we might want to have a little bit more of a purpose. Now, Canva helps a little bit by playing off of some of the colors that we already have. And Instagram does this too. If you've noticed in Instagram stories, often it will pick a background color that is built off of one of the colors in the photograph. Now, there's a couple of ways we can find those colors. So we can either see if our company or our brand has established some standards with some colors to use, or we can kind of create our own. So I'm going to show you how we might do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go use one of the tools that's available to you in an image editing program. I'm going to use Photoshop for this. Okay, so this is the front of the Shoemaker Communication Center on campus. Maybe I want to use this photo as part of a series of social cards, like we talked about doing in our story. And so we want to have the color palette to be similar across all of the posts. So what we can do, I know the Photoshop tool set is a bit daunting. There's the crop, there's all these different tools. The big one is this one here is the eyedropper tool. And you will notice the selected colors. This is the foreground color, that's the background color. So what we're going to do is we are going to go around, and I can pick any part of the photo. So like if I pick the blue sky, then it tells me what exactly blue that is. But I can also, I want to play off of the red, and that gives me that red color. And the most important thing to look for as you're thinking about this is this number here, which is known as the hexadecimal number. And a lot of color picking tools will ask for what's the original, what's the color you're working with, what's that main color. So I've got this color that I'm going to work with so that it matches this picture. And now I can use this number wherever I wish to get different colors. So let's go back to this one. So I picked a fairly bright red that kind of goes with the soda can and it matches that. But I would rather have the red that plays off of the Shoemaker picture because I'm going to put that as part of this series of posts, right? So what I'm going to do is on this, I can add a document color. So I'm going to add a new color and I can type in the hexadecimal color here. Now, this isn't just some random number. What this is the amount of red, the amount of green, and the amount of blue in the color. And so these are hexadecimal numbers, hence the name, that go from 0 to 255. It's a different numbering scheme, but that's how it works. So this tells me a certain level of red, a certain level of green, and a certain level of blue. So what we can do here is I got the picture, the red, which was the B36251, and you will see that red kind of looks like the entrance to the Shoemaker Communication Center. So that gets us a little bit closer to where we want to, and that the picture will match with this particular post. Now let's say we want to expand the color palette. There are some color tools that we can use. One of my favorites is colorhex.com. I have a lot of students who really like Coolors.co, which has a color picker in it. I don't care which one you use. This one helps you choose some. So there's my cedar chest. And then what this does is it gives you variations and shades and hues and things that go with those colors. Color Hex does the same thing. So I can add that number in here, B36251. There's my color, choose the color, and then I'm going to get info on the color. And this gives me all of the gradients and shades that we may want to use, as well as their hexadecimal numbers. We also can look at the triadic colors, the complementary color, and that can help us give some ideas of what we might want to include in our color choice. So once I've created this, then what I want to do is keep this consistent across all of the posts so that people won't be jarred by when I go from one card to the next as we're flipping through them on Instagram. Remember the way that we can either duplicate this page or we can just add another page and it gives us that background and we can continue to use different text. Remember, keep your font set fairly small. I wouldn't have like 5 fonts. If you want some variation, vary the weight. Notice how this is bold and this is thin. You can also use some italics, but I would use the same family to build off of. So in this case, as I look at this, we've got this Open Sans Extra that is our font that we're using, and it's the same, but we've got light and different grades or different weights that we are using in our design. And the good thing about Canva is it makes these decisions for us. So we don't have to mess too much. The other thing that you want to do is create a hierarchy in your fonts. So whatever is the most important message should be the biggest. So this is my main headline. This is a subheading, and then here's some basic text. So you create this hierarchy of, okay, this is the main thing that I'm going to look at. This is what this post is about. And if you'll notice on the second one, I used the smaller font, which is kind of along the lines of how this Washington Post series worked, right? So there's the main post with the big headline, and it's got some photos to pull us in. And then we look here, there's a main photo, and then we've got the subheading text. Subheading text, subheading text, subheading text. And notice that they all, in this case, you have variation between a serif font. See, it has these little extras, these little design flourishes on the numbers and letters. That's known as a serif font. And the sans serif font has none of that. And it's a little bit easier to read for blocks of text. So sometimes what people will do is choose one of these for the headline, choose the serif font for the headline, and the sans serif for the text, or vice versa. And that's a way to incorporate a little bit of design variety in your design. So that's just a very basic explainer on colors and using basic fonts as you work on the Canva assignment for this week.